There it is. Looking at my good eye. What is going on, you guys? AK-40 Kevin here, aka 00 Kevin. So, I don't really have to be the one to tell you guys that Sony completely missed the mark with this good old-fashioned PlayStation Classic, retro, throwback, mini console, whatever you want to call it, as it is the lowest selling one of these uprising of mini consoles like the NES, the Genesis, the Super NES, the Atari. Although all these manufacturers are coming out and creating these little cute 3D printed mini models that have some of the original games packed in them, to have people kind of flash back to that nostalgia and flash back to their childhood and whatnot. I personally grew up with a PlayStation 1 and spent a lot of time playing Crash and Final Fantasy, Tekken, Tomb Raider, all that good stuff. So I was very, very disappointed, like many people were, over a couple things. Now, there was so much potential here to be such a kick-ass mini console, but they really just blew it out, just really fucked it up, for a couple reasons. One, there's only 20 titles on here, which is a pretty small library, and out of those 20 games, only 5 or 6 of them actually speak to the lineage, the heritage, the history, the rich gaming background that is the Sony PlayStation 1. There was a few titles on there that I was like, okay, yeah, that belongs in there, but most of them were just utter crap. The second problem is there is no Bluetooth support, and you can't use any other controllers besides the PlayStation ones that come with it. You can't adjust any settings, emulation settings, which is fucking ridiculous. And finally, all the 20 games on there run with the NTSC game models instead of the PAL version, which is the US version. So they run off the European or Japanese gaming code instead of the PAL version, which is the US gaming code, which ran at 60 frames per second, and the ones in here run at 50 frames per second, which at fast-paced games like Tekken or Twisted Metal, it's noticeable. It's noticeably more jittery and more stuttery, and it kind of feels like you're in a disco. It's very strobe lightish, which is a real pain in the dick hole. So, I mean, overall, this thing looks really cool. We're going to go ahead and unbox it. This one is unopened. This one, obviously, is opened. I was playing with it last night for a little while. So we're going to go ahead and unbox this bad boy. And there is a reason I have 2 here and I have another 3 on order. So I'm going to be modifying these, jailbreaking them, unlocking them, giving them Bluetooth capability, increasing the graphics and the frame rate, and then basically reselling them. So I'm going to basically undo Sony's fuck up and make this what it should have been. So all the errors that are built into this little bad boy, I'm going to eliminate and pump it full of pimp juice and then give it to people for a reasonable price. So that's only fair to give Sony fans the PlayStation Classic that they actually deserve. So we're going to do a build on the channel so I can show you basically what I'm doing. I might have a couple tricks up my sleeve that I'll be doing for the actual consoles that I'm selling. But all in all, we're going to do a build on this channel here where I'm going to show you guys how to make these not suck if you have one sitting around the house. So enough jaw jacking and lip smacking. Let's go ahead and crack this bad boy open. I have my unboxing knife, which is of course made out of pure kryptonite. All right, come here, boys. Let's set you aside here. Still have 2 controller builds going on. I got the old steampunk controller, and I got the gamer girl project here too. So that one's for my daughter, that one's for my stepdad. Alrighty, you guys don't give a shit. Let's just get on with the unboxing, shall we? So it says 20 classic games preloaded, and it shows you the titles that are on there. Again, the only ones that were actually good, or at least, you know, I grew up with and a lot of my friends grew up with and people actually talk about. It's Cool Borders, Final Fantasy 7, Metal Gear Solid, Tekken 3, and Twisted Metal. The rest of these are pretty garbage, you know. Maybe you grew up with a certain game on here that I didn't, but for the most part, those are the games that, you know, are more common on the PlayStation platform. And it was kind of a bummer to see them play at 50 frames per second, because it is very noticeable. And the fact there's no like Bluetooth support, which is crazy because it's an emulation device. There's definitely potential for being able to sit back and use like your existing PS4 or Xbox controller, which by the way, I'm gonna make that happen. But by the way, I'm going El Natural today. I just got out of the shower and, you know, going El Natty with the hair. Natty Ice. All right, let's pull this tab here. Alright. Now I unboxed one of these last night. I actually unboxed this one, so I kind of have an idea of what's in here, but I want to show you guys. There we go. There we go. Your instruction manual. There's actually two in here. The first one is English, second one is Spanish for our brothers from the south of the border. English, very thin little manual. There's not a whole lot to it. Also, when you do the initial startup, it does walk you through how to use it and everything, so you technically don't really need this or anything. Here's the Hispanic version. All right, let's bust the box open. Let's bust it wide open. Yeah, when I first saw this, I didn't really know it was that small, so it's pretty cool. I mean, the design is really cool. It looks just like an original PlayStation 1, but scaled down tremendously. And all three of these buttons actually work on here. I'll go over the function of all these shortly here. All right. Get your console there. Two wired controllers. To my knowledge, these are the only controllers that you can use out of the box with this thing. Again, I'm gonna fix that issue, but the cords are also very short with these. Like, you can't lay back in bed and play with them unless you get an extension, like Amazon. I'll have a link in the description below. There's a set of two of them, two 10-foot extensions for these on Amazon for I think like $6 or $7. So if you don't want to be, you know, sitting right up on your console and you want to be able to like sit back in your couch or your bed or whatever and play this, you probably want to get like an extension cable or whatever. Here is your cable to power it. It does not come with a brick or anything, so you have to use an existing power brick or just plug it into a USB device, like maybe the back of your TV or something that has a USB port. But it is micro USB to power the unit. And it does come with a very long HDMI cable. So that is very nice. I think this is probably a 6 or 8 foot HDMI cable. So that's nice to have. All right, so we are going to hook up the one that I've already unboxed, and I'm gonna go over some of the face buttons, browse through the menu, and kind of just show you guys how this bad boy runs. From the get-go, some of the very few pros or perks of owning this bad boy in stock configuration, and then you know, display a couple of the issues that I myself and pretty much everyone else in the gaming community is saying about this little piece of plastic shit. Alright guys, we got the old PlayStation Classic hookup here, and it looks a little bit insignificant when you set it next to two of my custom Raspberry Pi builds, which by the way are even smaller, and this one has 12,000, close to 13,000 games on here across 28 consoles. It's overclocked, so it runs N64 and Dreamcast just fine. By the way, I build and sell these, so if anybody's interested, just shoot me a message and we'll work something out. But yeah, just the potential that these have. Like, they have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth built into them. You can browse the internet on them. You can get Kodi. Oh yeah, there's a full Kodi build on both of these, so you have your free television and movies and all that good stuff. Of course, custom themes, splash screens, background music on the menu, all that good stuff. So anyway, this it's just so incapable compared to something like this, which is basically the same price point. So it's just, I don't know, Sony really fucked this project up. It had so much untapped potential. So anyway, once you've plugged into the micro USB, you're gonna have this amber light showing that it's getting power. Go ahead and hit the power button, turns green. All right, you're welcome with that original classic PlayStation introduction screen. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and plug in one of these bad boys. Again, like I said, the cord isn't very long. It's probably about 5 or 6 feet. So you're gonna have to kind of be up on your console when you're playing. So the initial setup, you really just have to select the language. There's not a whole a whole big setup or anything. You kind of just select your language or whatever. So got all your games on here. There's no background music or anything on the main menu. Some basic little sound effects. I'll let you hear those now. Alright, so again, good titles. You got Metal Gear Solid. This is super weird. I kind of briefly remember this, but I never played it. Rayman's actually really fun. I forgot about that. Resident Evil Director's Cut, again, really good, but why not include 2 and Nemesis? Like, you know what I mean? It's just, they could have packed so many more good games on here. Parappa the Rappa, Parasite Eve, like, just all the Tekkens instead of just number 3. Ridge Racer, you can go ahead and scrap that. Why don't you put Gran Turismo in here? Like, they really, I don't think they did a survey or basically asked the Sony community what they wanted from a retro console. So I think they just put out what they thought was going to make a quick buck, and it kind of backfired on them because nobody wants it. Nobody's buying this. I was able to pick both these up for an extreme discount because, well, everyone's getting rid of the ones that they purchased. People were canceling their pre-orders when they found out there's only 20 games, more than half of which suck the meat. They're running in 50 frames per second, not 60, because they decided to go with the Japanese/European game ROMs. Vice getting the PAL, which is the US versions, which run at a steady 60 frames, which, by the way, during this build, I am going to be remedying that, so all these games will run better than their originals, not worse than their originals. Rainbow Six, good game, but runs like ass on this setup. Twisted Metal, again, great game from my childhood, but I actually had to quit it because it was giving me a headache because the frame rate was so bad, and I'm not even exaggerating. Cool Borders was pretty fun, but the controls are a little bit wonky. Oh yeah, again, there is no analog stick on this because the original PlayStation just had a D-pad, and then shortly after that they came out with the analog sticks on the DualShock controller. Final Fantasy VII, fantastic game, but again, you notice that 50 frames per second, and the graphics actually look a little bit worse than I remember. I don't know if that's just because it's so old now, 1997, or if it's just because the game hasn't aged well, or if it's actually the fact that this little piece of shit console just doesn't, it's not tuned properly. For being an emulator, there should be an options menu, which there is. Sony's hidden it. I'll show you guys how to get access to that, but you should be able to bump up resolution, bump up frame rate, add filters and stuff like that to actually make the graphics look better and pop better on modern screens. Because these games were played on, big old brick CRT TVs that were equally as shitty as these games, so they worked perfectly together. But now you have TVs that are pushing the limits of resolution and pixels and whatnot, so it kind of makes these retro games look worse, unless you can configure them. So, something to keep in mind. GTA, they could have gone ahead and left this out. The original GTA wasn't that good. Again, never played it. Good game. Never played it. And we've come back around full swing. So settings, there's not a whole lot in here. You get your health and safety waivers and stuff. Screensaver on. It's not a real screensaver. It just dims the screen after 5 minutes of inactivity. You can add themes aftermarket by jailbreaking, which I'll show you guys, but the screensaver, as they call it, is just dimming the screen. Choose your language. Power save settings is basically just shutting off the controller after 60 minutes of unuse, and these are both basically restoring to factory settings. And then your legal notations basically saying not to do what I'm going to do, which is modify this device to make it not a piece of crap anymore. So let's get out of there. You got your guides for the console, which you really don't need. I can explain it to you right now. So whenever you're in a game, you press the reset button here, which is this small button here, and it saves the state of your game. So you can come to here, which says resume point. So say I'm playing Street Fighter, and I have to go or whatever. All you have to do is hit reset on the controller there, come back, and then from the main menu you'll be able to come to this resume point. So it's kind of a neat way of saving your game on the fly. However, I wish there was a way to do that on the controller, which there is, again, through the aftermarket jailbreaking hacking community, which I'm deep in, so I'm very excited that we could actually make this console not a piece of crap, Sony. But yeah, because you have to get up off your couch or your bed, burn calories to walk up to the console, and then press this little button here when you should just be able to press like select and triangle, or hold down these 3 buttons or something and be able to save your game and load it at a different time. So just missing the mark, Sony, missing the mark. That's pretty much it. You've got your virtual memory cards in here, and I'll go ahead and pop up a game for you so you can go ahead and see the stock gameplay. Tekken I had a blast with. I played a couple hours last night, and it actually runs pretty good for being only at 50 frames per second, but it is noticeably laggy, and it hasn't aged very well for the new televisions. Yep, arcade mode. I'll play some Yoshi. Some Yoshimitsu. Oh man, my back hurts. See if I still remember his moves. Oh god, I have to fight her. She's really good. There we go. Oh, I actually made contact with that. Boom. I gave her the fucking business. Roundhouse. She just got Chris Browned.
Round 2, fight.
Oh, that's Chris Brown right there. You see that backhand? Holy shit. Fucking Ray Rice over here. Call me Michael Vick. What's up, dog? Damn. I just kicked the stuffing out of that girl. I feel bad. Yep. Hell yeah. Alright, that's enough. Nobody wants to see Jin.
Round 1.
Let me just stab him real quick for you guys. Bam! God, if you make contact with that, that's more than 50% damage. Like, they have to be stupid enough, like if you're actually playing with a friend or something, it's such a long attack to charge up, they have so much time to back away, but if you can make contact with that, that's instant death if you land 2 of them. So, anyway guys, here, let me flip you around and tilt you up, look at my eyes here. Alright, so, not a great retro console. Worse than the NES Classic from Nintendo, the SNES Classic, the Atari Classic. Worse than the Sega Genesis Classic. This is the worst retro console that a company has released. So, yeah, it has so much potential, and the hardware holds that potential, but it's limited by software, and mostly just software. So, I'm gonna soft mod it, and then I might even hard mod it because I got a little something up my sleeve on how I could potentially overclock this. And I don't believe anyone's actually successfully overclocked this yet. I could be wrong. I've done a lot of research on it, but I still could be wrong. So I would like to overclock it, or if I can't do that, I do know how to do several other modifications to where I can add whatever games I want. I could have the whole PlayStation 1 library if I so damn well pleased, but honestly, there's probably only 100 or 200 games I really want from PlayStation 1. Boost those graphics up, get that frame rate back up to 60, and give Bluetooth capability so you guys can go ahead and park your ass back on your couch and play with your PS4 controllers instead of having to hunchback a Notre Dame up on your beanbag chairs in front of your TV, scorching your corneas. Nobody should have to play like that anymore, guys. It ain't 1997. It's 2019. Let's progress here, guys. Retro but progressive. You know what I mean? We're not chiseling on stone tablets here, boys. Let's go ahead and get a little progressive with it. So I'm gonna take this thing, this little plastic brick here that really missed the mark, and I'm gonna go ahead and fix Sony's accuracy to get a bullseye. If that makes any sense. So see you guys later. This is just a unboxing and review. We're going to start a build series for this thing, and the next episode will probably be over the next couple days. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to... we'll show you basically one episode on how to add Bluetooth and add any games you want, which is basically what anyone would want to do to it. I'm going to take it a couple steps further because I'm a modder. I like to tinker around with my projects, but for the normal owner, they just want to add games and get a little Bluetooth capability. So I'll show you guys next episode how to do that later.